LA maiden call.
As all good episodes start.
Is that pineapple?
It is pineapple.
Oh, the best.
Your favorite.
My fave. Love pineapple. It's the only flavor I actually like.
Keep stalling while you get to the script.
I know. I was like, I have to pull up what I'm supposed to be saying here. Welcome to the episode, guys. Thanks for being here. All right.
Smutters.
Thanks, smutties. Okay. Are you ready for me?
I am ready.
This is the Sibs Read Smut intro to the final episode of season 1. Dun, da, 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 da. Ta-da! I'm Helen.
I am Ned.
I'm sober. You are?
Not. Never.
This is a podcast, believe it or not, where we read, rate, review, and tell yuck yucks while discussing your, but mostly our favorite dirty romance novels. If you have suggestions or questions, you can reach out on the socials, yada yada. Sibs Read Smut, Gmail, Sibs Read Smut. On today's podcast, we will be discussing Nora Goes Off Script. Just like I went off script in this intro.
Good tie-in,
Oh
Helen.
my God, Helen. That was the worst. Okay.
Bye.
Annabel Monaghan. I was getting there. I was just going off script. All right. Spoiler alert. We will be talking about this book in full. Start, finish, twists. All the little things that you need to know, all the details that really mess up this story, beginnings, ends, twists. So if you haven't read the book, I want you to go read this one. Genuinely. Go hit pause, come back to this. I loved this book.
It's
short. It's only 7 hours if you listen, 3.5 hours if you listen at chipmunk speed. So we'll wait. Now off we go. So Ned, did you write a summary of this book for yourself? You actually did write this summary for yourself. Sorry, I was a little out of it.
Preoccupied.
I was a little busy. But Ned wrote his own summary just to catch everyone up to speed.
Yeah. Nora Goes Off Script by Annabel Monaghan. Get ready. Nora got left by her dipshit husband and wrote a screenplay about it. Leo accepts the role in the movie about Nora's life, and while drinking and acting on the production at Nora's house, he decides he wants to stay. ... and hump. They get attached, and miscommunications abound.
No.
They split up.
Shoot.
Cue Nora's second personal story, writing binge. They get back together and bone into the sunset.
Way to read that all the way through and not go off script at all.
Yeah, no off scriptiness. The cover watch, cartoony and great.
Yeah,
I love it. I love it. You know, it's good.
Very cartoon. It is just the two. It's her leaning over her porch rail. The house is a real character in this story. Everything about the house. So she's leaning on her front porch railing.
One her general descriptions, Annabel Monaghan's descriptions, really put you in the scene and the house and the writing nook tea house out back and this the little town where they live and everything else. She puts you there. It is very well done in that regard. And you know, this one had some of the similar themes that we've seen from other from other books, tropes and everything else. This is another superstar normie book, where he's famous, she's not a little famous in her own right, because she is. I mean, she writes a lot of. She's a well-known romance.
She writes
Hallmark movie writer.
All right, Ned, name one screenwriter for the Hallmark Channel right now.
No.
Exactly. She is not famous in the least. She writes for TRC, the romance channel.
She wins an Oscar in this book.
Not till the so she, at the beginning of this book, she wrote this is her first like feature length film that's being made, and that Leo, the guy who was in my mind like a Brad Pitt type character, like the biggest superstar on the planet, and she wrote this story about her deadbeat ex-husband that was too good for the Romance Channel. So she has strictly always written these like, place and plug, Romance Channel movies, Hallmark movies. And so that
she actually explains it in the story of like, give me a town, give me an occupation, give me a whatever, and this is how I create a story. He's got zany parents. She's a high class businesswoman, and he has a church
Christmas
fundraiser,
tree farm,
a Christmas tree farm, or a church fundraiser, or a bakery that needs to be saved. And she literally plugs and plays all of these like things in there. This is another one where they don't play with the tropes a lot, but she does explain how and why these tropes exist and their usefulness in storytelling. And that was a very kind of like meta moment for the book. Yeah. Another single perspective story. Again, another one.
That's right. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, which was, interesting again, where there was enough story there where, because she has 2 kids and the deadbeat husband left. And so there's enough going on with the kids and everything else that she can't ruminate a whole lot because she has to take care of her family and keep making money and keep writing and doing whatever. So she can't wallow like some of these other characters have done, which, the book's short, but it packs a lot of punch in there. And as we mentioned, Annabelle's, like I know her, Miss Monaghan,
Annie,
her descriptions really put you in there, and especially when the movie crew is showing up at the very beginning. So the book starts with the movie crew who is shooting her script, showing up to her house where they want to shoot in the tea house out back where she does all her writing, where her husband finally announced that he was going to leave her. Yeah. They're all everybody's showing up. They're ruining her front yard. They're parking in the grass. It's, after this beautiful description of the house that puts you there, it's now this production team is ruining it. And I when I worked for the Miss Universe pageants back in the day,
do you want to admit that?
I was assigned a job where I had to find a Ferrari or a Lamborghini to shoot in Vegas. And I called every rental agency in the Vegas area asking to borrow a car so that we could shoot this opening scene for the show. And not a single one of them would rent to a production. Every single one of them said, you ruin our shit. You literally attach cameras where they shouldn't go. You dent the hoods. You do all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of what productions do. And I ended up finding a guy who was like, if you let me leave my company's vanity plates on, you can use the car. And I was like, oh my God, thank you so much. So I ended up solving it. But this is a real thing. These productions, they'll replace your grass and everything else, but they will ruin your shit first.
Will ruin it. Yeah. Well, and our aunt had but they filmed what's the Contagion in their house here in Chicago, in the northern suburbs of Chicago. Like, so when Gwyneth Paltrow dies at the beginning of Contagion, that's in like my aunt's kitchen. They like took over her house, but they had to like move out for like a month, and it was like a cool experience. Or it's cool for me, like however long ago that movie was made. Yeah. So our aunt also, they had a production team come in and take over their whole house.
I worked with a executive producer director very early on in my tenure in LA, where he had 4 ex-wives. He was paying alimony to all of them, and he lived in a house in Toluca Lake, which is a very nice neighborhood in LA. But he never really stayed there because he would rent his house out to porno shoots, and he would make 10 grand a weekend to let them use his house, and all he had was a no fluids clause in his contract. So they had to move out all of his stuff and bring in their own furniture. And then they'd fuck all over his house, and then
Sick.
and then they'd move all their stuff out and move his stuff back in, and then he would be there for a couple of days, but that's how he paid off all his alimonies.
Oh my god!
But this book is not
they're not
the whole
filming a porno.
Yeah, not the whole porno thing, but they do absolutely take over her place for a couple of days.
They ruin it.
And she sees this guy, Leo. Nora is the main character. Ben is the douchey husband, and Leo ex-husband, and Leo shows up. And he's playing her ex-husband in this movie.
Yeah.
And he does not stay in hotels. And so he moves his trailer into Nora's front yard, and he's just getting hammered this whole time.
He like opens his door and he just like stretches, and he's not wearing a shirt. And she was like, oh, his jeans were low slung, and he's just like drinking tea. You're drinking like, liquor in his coffee. She was
and she's ogling him the whole time, and she's like, he's the guy that's known for white hot smolders. He just smolders in every movie, and she's like, it's a thing.
Yeah,
and he's prone to inappropriate oozing of sex appeal. Is her description of him? He just smolders at everybody, and
I loved it, and that carried on through the whole book. Which
oh my god, it came
funny.
Up.
It was so funny every time she brought it up.
Did you have flashbacks to your own husband, who was also named Ben? in this
was because they really bash Ben. I mean, Ben in this story is like just a total deadbeat, like entitled little prick, and he like talked down. He like didn't respect what Nora's job was, essentially writing movies for TRC or Hallmark, but he was like very vocal about it. And he's like, oh, those little fluff pieces that you write. And
he comes from money, and he's just like never had to work for anything in his life
ever.
And he has a bunch of failed businesses and a bunch of failed opportunities. And Nora is the breadwinner in the family. She's the one that's actually making the money. And he's just spending her money like it grows on trees. And finally he goes, I deserve a better life, and just decides to leave.
And leaves. Leaves the children. That's I was like, my Benjamin would never. I mean.
And she goes, leave it to Ben to give me material to write my best thing yet. And it was
truly.
And it was like, yeah. And it was not really a meet cute with Leo when she shows up. He just like kind of walks by her into the house and like takes it over. Yeah. And Naomi Sanchez is playing her in this movie, and she looks at her and she goes, she's way too good looking to play me in this movie. She has no pores. There's just a lot of good, just honest funny in this book too, that makes you. Penny, her sister, is very fun. Nora's sister is very funny. Naomi Sanchez, it doesn't play a huge role in this, but she does,
because she's the fake. She ends up being Leo's fake girlfriend.
Yeah, the beard for the
promoting the movie,
and the kids are hysterical in the book too. Arthur,
they're
her
older.
son.
They're like 12 and 10, I think. I mean, they're a little bit older than some of the kids.
I thought they might have been a little younger than that, but around those
maybe
ages.
10 and 8, but older, around 10.
And you meet all the crew in the town, like we talked about in When in Rome and everything else. Like the town is its own character.
It's been a while since we've done a real small town romance.
Yeah, and so you have like Molly, the school queen bee and resident PTA succubus is what I called her. And Kate, the mom friend, is funny and engaging and provides some levity to the whole thing. And her husband, who ends up hating Leo and then loving Leo, and then
I gotta go call Leo.
And at the end, when Leo, spoiler alert, leaves, and he's like, we were supposed to cook ribs next week. We were supposed to get the green egg and cook ribs. How can he just leave? And
it's all about him. It's like the friend's husband. He's like, wait, what about me?
Yeah, he's like a local firefighter or whatever.
Yeah, he's very funny.
It's very, has a depth of character for every single for everyone. And it, Bernadette, the daughter, is a rule follower, and Arthur is, the act. She wants to be an actor in the school play, and like he's hesitant to love again after the dad leaves, and there's a lot of kind of storm of emotions that come together with the kids and her, and her looking out for the kids, and then Leo looking for a new thing. After the movie wraps and everybody leaves, he decides he wants to stay. He's like,
he goes missing. They like his handlers like can't find him, and they end up calling Nora to be like, is he still there? Have you seen him? Like, we got back and his trailer was just empty. And she went out to the tea house, right? And he was just like napping in the tea house, I think.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, and there's a little lead up to this where during the film, while the filming was still going on, she gets home from picking up the kids from school, and Leo's just in the kitchen doing her crossword, and then she starts making meatloaf, and he's just totally grossed out by like making meatloaf. And that scene was so funny. Was like, she's like putting the meatloaf together, and he's like, "Oh my God, you eat this? Like,
you're
this
touching
is disgusting
with your bare hands." That was great.
And then she finds him on the front porch the next day drunk, and she's telling him about these sunrises off the front porch, and she's like how magical they are and everything else, and he's like, oh well, okay, cool. And so he just decides he wants to stick around and keep looking
hanging out and having living like a normal life, like being a small town dude, like being part of a family. And we come to quickly find out, I don't know how quickly, but he lost his mom, right? Mom?
Yes, I believe his mom passed away.
The dad is in the show later. So part of this is grief. He feels like he hasn't really grieved his mom. And so he is seeing this like familial unit of Nora and her two kids, and he just kind of wants to be a part of it. He wants to he remembers his childhood fondly, and they haven't had that kind of relationship in a while, especially since he's been this big star. And so he's really kind of craving that to help grieve with how much he misses his mom. And that all kind of it doesn't come out right away. It comes out sort of throughout the book.
Yeah. But
he basically tells her like, hey, I'll pay you $1,000 a day to let me stay in the tea house and just be here for 7 days. That's it. I just want a week. I'll pay you $7,000. And Nora is very money motivated at this point because Ben left.
I mean, she's been money motivated this entire time. One, to 100%. Pay for Ben while he was still there.
Yes.
And then now that he's left, she's a single mother of two and has bills to pay. She needs to get a new roof and new kitchen appliances and all other kinds of stuff for the house.
And Ben kind of like bankrupted them. He would like spend money they didn't have. And so they need a new roof. There's a bunch of house stuff. So by letting the tea house movie crew film there, she made a chunk of money that was really important to helping pay that off. And then he's like offering her $7,000, and she's like, okay.
All right. You're not that much of a nuisance.
Yeah, for 7 days. You do my crossword.
Seeing your hunky face in the morning, isn't the worst thing in the world. And the sarcasm is great though too. We talked a little bit about the funniness in the book, but like there's a lot of good sarcasm in here. And at one point, he asked Arthur, Nora brings up the sunrise and everything else, and he's like, oh my God, does it happen every day? And Arthur just looks around and goes, that's how the sun works, genius. And there's a lot of those quippy lines where it's like, yeah, you idiot, very, very much my brand of comedy, which I enjoyed a lot. And he wants the whole experience while he's there too. It's not just him staying, but it's like the whole experience. So he's like, I want to go to the grocery store with you.
Like grocery shopping.
And the scanner while they're walking through and bagging the stuff. And he's like, oh my God, whoa, have you seen this? He's like, oh my God, bananas are so cheap.
Well, and then like the other women gossiping about like, oh, it's Leo and Nora. And then she's like, why is this lady making this face? And she looks behind her and he's smoldering. At like all of these like small town women who are just like, oh my God. I love the smolder.
Yeah.
She was like, stop smoldering at these ladies.
Doing our best smolders at the camera. A lot of eyebrow work in the Donnelly smolder. You're gonna have to tune into the video podcast for that one, folks.
Yeah, this is how I got my husband.
Oh.
From across the bar.
Yeah. We're going to make that one the thumbnail for this video on YouTube. Well, and Bernadette loves that Leo's staying, the daughter, and Arthur is not so happy that Leo is staying. And, Leo mainly just drinks and eats meals with them until it comes out that Arthur wants to act in the school play. Yes. And it's
he's reading lines with Nora. This is one of my favorite parts.
What was the play, though? I forget what the play was. Oliver, I think?
Oliver Twist, maybe? Yeah.
Yeah, Oliver Twist.
And he's, like, playing the main character, and he's trying to read lines with Nora. Nora's
like, you're so bad at this, Mom.
And Leo's like, you kind of do suck. Like, let me take over.
He inserts himself into their family dynamic, which
in a very funny way.
Very funny, but also very genuine. It was, I thought it was very, it didn't come on too strong. It happened in a natural way. It was good, a good piece of storytelling.
Yes.
And one of my favorite lines from right around there is Arthur's melting down and about preparing for the play. And Nora says, 5th grade is like trying to defuse a live bomb. And it was because anything she does is just wrong and whatever else. And finally, Leo says to Nora, your Fagin is more depressing than your movie. All about her husband leaving her and everything else. Your acting performance is more depressing than the movie that you wrote.
That's brutal.
Yeah, it was, but it was true and very funny.
Yes.
And Leo tells Arthur, I will help you run lines as long as you promise never to become an actor. He's so fed up with acting and everything else. He's like, he wants to leave it all behind. And then he's like, your towels suck. So he takes her to town, like takes her on a shopping spree.
Yeah. And it's like, you need new sheets, new towels.
Oh my God.
Well, because Ben was like, oh, we need nice things. And she was like, no, we don't. We just need towels. So, and Ben, when he left, he took all the nice stuff that he felt that he deserved, the entitled prick. Ugh. So, yeah.
Well, and then
bad.
Yeah, and then she explains her writing process and everything else, which I thought was the whole, plug and play element to writing these movies, and I thought that was great. That was kind of like at the beginning of Book Lovers, where she is explaining all of these small town tropes and everything else. It was exactly that, just her. She's the one actually writing these books, and whatever else. It was very. It was fun, kind of meta scene in that way. And then, they're talking about her history with Ben comes up sporadically throughout the book. And we find out that, he was a hilltopper and she was living in the flats as a blue collar, family. And her sister
how they
always acted like a hilltopper, and Nora moved in that direction when she started dating Ben. Because Ben was a hilltopper, and then he just gets more and more entitled as the story unfolds. And then he left her with all his debt, but also the house. And he calls and sees the kids sometimes, but he never keeps the promises.
Yeah.
And we just generally find out that he fucking sucks, dude.
He sucks.
He's and at this point, still no boning. They have not boned yet. They've smoldered a lot.
I would like to talk about this.
They've sat next to each other on the bench every morning.
Yeah, so they go and watch these sunsets, and he has a blanket, and he puts the blanket over her legs. And the first morning, she's out there in like her normal nightgown, and he's like, your nightgown's completely see-through. And she's like, oh my God. And so that was
just
really
nips
funny.
a blasting.
Yeah, but I remember from reading this the first time and then reading this again, they seem like they formed such a friendship, especially because the kids are always around. I mean, they're not like flirting and, like there's an occasional smolder, but she's funny about it. She's like, don't use that on me. Like, I know what you're doing.
I know all your smolders. That's the one from this movie.
That's that movie. And so she like calls him on that. So I feel like they formed a really strong friendship in this week, and it didn't have a heavy tone of romance, in my opinion. And I remember thinking at one point, like, how are they going to shift? I know that they become romantic, both because I've read it before and because this is a romance novel. So like, I know that things turn into that, but I had a hard time. I mean, until like kind of later in the book, waiting for the tide to turn and them to sort of really like,
right.
Like find the romance in it, as opposed to just like a really deep friendship and like adorable family scenes.
But she's been getting the rumblies this whole time. Like she's always a little hot. She's always a little hot for him. And her seeing Leo with Arthur is also giving her some like uterus pangs. And,
is that the term you want to use? Is that like the one? Do you want to stick with that? Or should we, just
some lip flaps?
Was making her puss hungry.
Wants a foot long. I was reading another series. I think it was a Jessica Peterson book where I think for the first time ever, listening to a romance book, she was like, yeah, he didn't have the biggest dick in the world, but he knew how to use it. And I was like, most of these guys these authors are like, he's got a Louisville Slugger between his legs.
Yeah,
and this one was like,
he has to pack in its own suitcase.
Yeah. And this one, she was like, yeah, he didn't have the biggest dick in the world, but he knew how to use it. And it was still spicy as hell. I'm like, we need a little bit more representation for not, Ned,
are you asking for representation for normal dick size?
Yeah, and not cut dudes. I want some dad bods in these motherfuckers. I know this is porn for women, but like, come on, we need a little more representation. Mm-hmm. Not all these professional athletes with 8 packs and a fire hose between their legs.
Giant schlongs.
Oh man! But she falls asleep in his bed, and they flirt a little bit. Mm-hmm. He's smoldering poor Mrs. Suzuki. She's like, "Stop smoldering poor Mrs. Suzuki." That was the one that you were talking about. I think it was another trip into town or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think she's going to her first play practice with him. And she's wearing so much makeup because she never wears makeup really around town. She's got 2 kids and whatever else. She's like, I wrote this down. She goes, I'm wearing too much makeup, but I have no one to ask about it. So I look vaguely like an assault victim.
Oh, that's kind of dark.
And that was when they were going out for their first time for dinner. That was when they went out to dinner for the first time. Yeah.
Yeah. So
it was not the play rehearsal. It was their first dinner.
She was asked to be like a behind the scenes stage mom for Arthur's play. And so he's like, oh, I want to help. So he just like tags along, and they go, and she's backstage, like helping to wrangle the kids. And he ends up offering to essentially like direct.
Yeah.
Co-director.
Mrs. Suzuki is the school director.
There is a director. Yeah. There's like a play person. And so that was just a very funny scene to watch him like integrate himself slowly into, and then suddenly now he's like the director of the school play, and like she's still backstage, like, get over here, get out, like doing costumes and stuff. But she was then able, like, nobody was stepping up. She's like, hey, who wants to make costumes? Who wants to do this? Who wants to do that? And then suddenly Leo's there, and all of these moms are just like creaming themselves to be like, I'll make a costume. I'll do whatever.
Is that how you want to put that, Helen?
I mean, I was going to say falling over themselves, but I thought creaming themselves was a little bit more better.
Top-notch comedy again.
Sibs Reads Smut podcast. So that was a very cute scene. And again, it's him ingratiating himself into this small town and with her, yada, yada. And then there's a separate scene where he basically says, like, I want to take you to dinner. So I want to go on a date with you. And then she dresses up. She puts on so much makeup that she looks like she, ran into a door.
Yeah.
And so that, and she like, she can't really ask her kid, she can't ask for everybody. I mean, all the kids are out for the night anyway. They're at a party and a sleepover or something. But, she's like, can't really ask her sister. She can't, there's nobody to ask. She doesn't have a ton of girlfriends.
And she doesn't really want to release to the whole town, too, that this is potentially turning a little bit more serious than just an A-list movie star living in her guest house for 2 weeks, or a week or whatever it may be. Well, and they go out to dinner. They have a great time. They come back. The kids are gone. And he's almost close enough to kiss her. And then she just blurts out, "My salmon was perfectly cooked." And oh my God, that made me laugh out loud. I was like, God. and then so I had two scenes in here. The only two open door scenes in the entire one was a little open door, but this one was 40% in ish, and I called it "Steaming Clams in Her Pants." And it's the first steamy kiss that they have, and they're making out in the kitchen, and then like the kids come home, and they have to like break away, and she's like, "Oh my God!" But that was it, for a non-overtly sexual scene. It was pretty. I'm not going to say spicy, but it was steamy. It was a steamy kiss. The way she put you in her house, she put you in that room.
What is that from?
That's me saying her descriptions of the house
for Annabel.
Mm-hmm. For Annabel, our best friend,
our bestie, Ms. Monaghan.
She puts you in the house. She puts you in the front yard, looking at that sunrise, and she puts you in that room while they're deep tonguing each other.
Yes. Yes,
and then it goes pretty quick right after that, and montage of them stealing kisses here and there, and then 45% ish. I go tea house tango, naked, and they bone in the tea house once she gets rid of the kids, and they just fuck all afternoon. And she has, she kills the kids, and then they fuck all afternoon.
Didn't just get rid of them. Like, they had activities. Kids are still
and people are starting to notice now because she's glowing from all the sex, and they're doing it a lot. And she doesn't really know what, she didn't really know what sex was until Leo came along, and it was like, he taught her everything she needs to know about her labia.
Maybe like libido.
Sure. Whatever, Helen.
It was a real master class in labias.
Majorum and minorum.
You're so dumb.
Oh, when Leo made the kid cry at the rehearsal too, that made me laugh out loud. And he not the actual him making him cry, but he was like, "Oh my God," Nora dresses him down a little bit. Like, you can't just do that. These are
fifth fucking grade.
These are fifth grade. And then he apologized to the kid and apologized to the mom. And he looks at Arthur and he goes, "Hey, when you screw up, you own it." And which becomes a big theme, for the rest of the novel, except neither of them take their own advice, except for Arthur at the end actually takes the advice. But and then this is the Katie's husband is the barbecue scene where he's grilling Leo about how much money he has and everything else, and he's just like, I don't know, whatever. I don't
look enough.
Yeah,
like I've got.
It is what it is. Like I don't pay attention to any of this stuff, And he's like unapologetic about the fact that he's like, yeah, I have a lot of money. I don't pay attention to that stuff. And then then the husband's like, oh, okay, cool. You're okay in my book.
Yeah, the husband.
And then
was funny.
and then they go on another date, and we find out that Ben had been cheating on Nora with
woman in town,
slutty Vicky.
And sounds like a other.
And Nora didn't even really care. She was just like, I'm so over this dude,
Yeah, that's how she knew. Like, okay, it's time.
Oh, Mickey is the husband that loves Leo. I fucking love him throughout there. But
he's a good character.
And then Leo just randomly at some point tells Nora that he loves her, and it's like it's a couple weeks into this stay. It's a couple weeks into this stay or whatever else, but it's like, really?
Well, and he keeps making excuses to stay. So originally it was like it's 7 days, $1,000 a day, and then he's like, well, maybe I'll stay a few days longer, and then I'll stay through Arthur's play because I'm going to help direct it, and then so it's just like the timeline keeps getting extended, and then there's not talk of more money, which comes up later when he ends up paying during the low point, but like.
They're also. Do you think they're good at communicating? I mean, last week we talked about how good the characters were at communicating with each other, and like neither of these people seem to be very good at communicating. They know their like long term needs, I guess, but they're not good about talking about their short term, actual immediate relationship.
Well, and I think like Annie Monaghan, our bestie, because they go on these, she like has this thing where every morning she goes on a run or a walk or whatever, and so he starts joining her and they start telling each other the life stories. So you do learn a lot. I think that's where you learn a lot about like her history with Ben and the marriage, and you learn about his family and the loss of his mom, and so like you really start to learn a lot of their backstories while they're sharing with each other on these runs. But to your point, there's not a lot of conversation about like what's going to happen in 2 weeks, like what's going to happen after Arthur's play. He just kind of keeps extending his time, and she's like, well, it's not like you're never going to go back to work. Like at some point, this little fake world that we're living in is going to end. Like I need to keep writing movies for the Hallmark Channel or TRC or whatever, and you need to go back to your real life. But so I think it's as much that they just don't know. So there's not a lot to talk about because they don't have a plan.
And I mean, he's still a movie star. Like he still has a career. He still has people relying on him. Yeah. And and that's when and his assistant, who I love as well,
she's just
moved into his penthouse in New York City and just is living in his place.
He's not here.
Yeah, he's not here. It's fine. And their relationship and her attitude towards his and her working relationship just made me laugh the whole time.
She was funny.
Well, and that brings us to like kind of our, I don't know, I put it as like low point 1.0, which was
the start. It's, in my opinion, it's a long low point. So he ends up getting a call essentially saying, come to LA. We need you to interview for this huge movie.
Big budget action movie.
Yeah. Action film.
I think it was
not a Marvel, but like it was superhero.
It was a superhero. It was Mega Man. It was like a Mega Man like
remake
offshoot. Yeah.
So he goes and he's like, I will be back for your play, Arthur. Like, I swear, like it, but it was very sudden. So he got the call and he had to leave like immediately, which again, all three of the family, Nora and her 2 kids, are very sort of messed up from Ben leaving. Yeah. So I think he recognizes that. He's like, okay, when I make a promise, I mean it. I'm going to be back for this show. I'm going to be, all of these things. So he goes to LA and then ends up having to stay.
And misses his first return flight, and then misses another return flight, and misses another return flight. And it's,
Arthur's play.
And she's having flashbacks of Ben
Yeah.
Leaving, and the kids are crushed, but she's trying to hide it, and the kids are on eggshells. And I don't know when, spoiler alert, Arthur texts him while he's gone and says, "My dad came back. We don't want you to come back. Mom's happy now. Do not come back to us."
It's the night of the play. So Arthur was really, obviously, like, he kept getting delayed. Leo kept getting delayed to come back. And then the night of the play, after the play was done, Leo misses the play. And so Leo text messaged Arthur to say, like, "Hey kid, how did it go?" And he said, "It went great. My dad came back to see the show or something, and he and my mom reconnected and got back together." So that's sort of the whole second half of the book
is all because of this.
Is because of this text message.
We, as the audience,
you don't know that.
Do not know. And I remember, because we read this book the first time, 3 or 4 years ago, and I remember something along these lines happening where, like, the miscommunication was whatever. Yeah. And I was like, I remember, I think it has something to do with the kid. But even then, I couldn't remember the exact specifics of it.
Yeah, same.
And all I could remember was the kid apologizing down the line and doing it. But I was like, I couldn't remember when in the story it happened. And I kept trying to figure out when he did this, when he did that, because the entire second half of the book, Leo's gone. He's in
MIA. LA. And he's promoting the movie.
And Nora thinks that she's been ghosted.
Yeah.
Leo stops texting. Leo stops calling. Leo stops everything. And she doesn't know what the hell happened. And she is beside herself. And she's all the Ben leaving, pangs come back. And she is a mess. But she's trying to hold it together for the kids. And then Leo sends $21,000 to, like, cover his stay, thinking that, that's going to make it seem okay because the husband is back, even though we don't know why he sent all this money to Nora. And I just kind of figured he was like, well, I stayed for 3 weeks and she doesn't want, you knew that there was some kind of communication there. Breakdown. So miscommunication breakdown. And Wheezy is like
the assistant living in his penthouse.
Does not know what's going on, but she tells Nora that Leo's dating Naomi Sanchez now.
Yeah.
And it's like she's crushed by this too. Vicky, again, is a huge butthole. And
the woman in town,
the temptress, the sluttress that cheated with Ben, and Nora now with a newfound sense of, like, I don't give a shit, just calls her out in the middle of town, like, we all knew you were fucking my husband. It's like, Nora,
get it,
and
Nora.
Mickey is pissed at Leo too. For
can't believe he left us.
The little green egg and ribs ribs.
That was so funny.
And she's wallowing, but unlike other books, the wallowing is done in fits and spurts, and it's done well. Where I didn't feel like it was harping too much and too much inside her head about this. And she's using this to write another story. She starts writing this dark, thinking it's a Hallmark movie, but it ends up being darker, like her first movie that she just had produced, and it's raw and emotional. Her agent goes,
it's the story of a movie set it's
their relationship
with Leo. And so she writes the honest ending of it just, like, not working out. And the late, her agent is like,
it's a huge bummer.
Yeah, like, man, but honest. And so then she's like, oh, well, so she's like, I can market this movie beyond the Hallmark or TRC channel, so let's do that. And she's like, no, let me rewrite the ending. I'll make it more romantic. I'll make them end up together or something. And she's like, no, keep it the way it is. Let's market this. And people are, like, falling off. Like, the director of the Tea House, I think, ends up wanting to get on board. They end up sending this movie to Leo to be like, hey, do you want to star in this? And he was like, Jesus Christ.
No.
This is like the movie of my relationship with her.
But she also changed it where the woman is the one who's the big star and whatever else. So she did change it just enough, but it is absolutely their story. And he is aghast that she wrote this script and texts her and is like, what the fuck are you doing? Like this is not okay. And she is like, why the hell are you so pissed about this? Like
you did this to me.
This is what happened. And then she dumps it down and then, she's like, no, that's not okay. And she changes it back. And then the running thing throughout like 75% on, Arthur has been removed. He has been like, a little sullen and whatever else. And she comes into the room and thinks Arthur's looking at porn, and
he like throws his blanket over something.
Oh my god! and she's like, oh my god, he's looking at porn. And
I knew it.
And it's
something
actually
was amiss.
It's actually a first edition Oliver Twist that Leo sent him, and
like
Leo
mailed.
wrote and Leo wrote him a note, and and she writes an ending to the story, her and Leo's story, that like satisfies her as a writer. And she then finds out that her original Tea House movie is up for a lot of awards. Like she's up for an Oscar, the director's up for an Oscar, Leo's up for an Oscar, the whole team is up for Oscars. So she gets all glammed up.
She goes to LA.
And the premiere's first though. She goes to the premiere before the Oscar stuff happens. The premiere happens in New York, and she sees Leo and
with
Naomi Sanchez, and she can't handle it. And she has like a panic attack in the hallway, and they leave. And then they find out that the Oscar stuff is going on. So she's like, I'm going to live my best life. I want to wear purple. Perp ain't got no herp.
Perp ain't got no herp.
And she gets all dressed up, and she wants to take her parents with her. And she's like, yeah, parents, you're coming with me as my date. And she, dressed with pockets, by the way, that's a big thing in female driven works. Everything should have
for
pockets.
Recognizing that, because women don't often have pockets. They often give us.
Leslie Knope said it best. Every outfit should have pockets. I mean, and
thank you, Leslie.
As I said on a work call the other day, Ron Swanson is my spirit animal. So
that is accurate.
Love me some Parks and Recreation, but the whole thing about
Oscars,
the Oscars and everything else, and Penny is like, just buy the shoes,
the sister,
the sister, like spend the money, and she gets a massive amount of money to sell her second screenplay. So now she's like rolling in dough, and she's like getting updates to the house. She can afford these fancy dresses. She's,
they stay at a nice hotel,
living the high life, and Nora wins the fucking Oscar, and whoa, just cheering outside of my building, and as I was listening to this, kidding, but not really, and
good moment.
she meets Leo's entire family out in the lobby after
she runs into everybody, and so she meets his brother, who he is close with, and their father. And she knows all these people from their long walks and learning about like his growing up and his history. So I guess, And so the brother like kind of looks like him, but not quite. And so she ends up meeting everybody. And then her parents come up behind her and they're like, oh, hi. And they know the whole story from her perspective.
Yeah.
And
his family knows everything from Leo's perspective.
So, and they're like, "Oh, we know all about you, Nora." Like,
she's like, "Really?" Like,
they were like, "Oh yeah, Leo got wasted at Thanksgiving and told us all about you." And so the whole story. And so both families were kind of like, "Oh, we know the whole story." And
both Leah and Nora are going, what are you talking about? Like, what are you like? Why are you pissed at me? Why are you pissed at me?
Wait, and that's I think when they started to think like something's amiss here. Like, there's not a whole story on his side. The whole story's on my, like kind of like, wait, what? So I think they start to realize something's a little bit amiss, and then I forget the timeline. Then
they don't really get to the bottom of anything that night. They kind of have a little chat outside, and he's like, I just hope you're happy, and she's like, I just hope you're happy, and then like she goes to sleep with the Oscar and calls the kids, and she's like in bed with Oscar and like FaceTiming the kids. That was a very, very cute scene.
Yeah.
And then Arthur is off, and Nora knows Arthur is off, and then the shit hits the fan, and Arthur goes missing.
So she
I just literally said Arthur goes missing, the little shit, in my notes.
So Nora gets a call from school saying like he didn't show up, and it's so rare in this small town where they live that like they waited like until noonish to call Nora even. So like they waited a while to even call. So she gets this call, and then she's like, fuck. And so she ends up tracking his phone and realizes that he's like in Harlem. Like he's on his way to Manhattan and on a train. And she's like, wait, what the fuck? So she also hops on a train.
Who do I know down there or whatever else? She calls Leo for help. And she's
Leo, Penny, and Wheezy.
Once again, positive that this is about porn. What an awesome callback to earlier in the story. She's like, I'm sure this is about porn. He needs to talk with a man like Leo about porn.
Yeah. So she calls everyone she knows in New York, and Leo ends up going to Union Station, I think, to find him. Walks up, and he's like buying a donut at Dunkin', and Leo's like, Arthur. And so then he texts Nora like, okay, I've got him. Come to this, come to my apartment at this address. And so she shows up finally, and it's kind of an awkward moment. It's kind of like, he's like, I have to tell you guys something. And again, she's jumping to all these like porno conclusions, it's porn. And he's like, Nora, let him talk. And so he ends up coming clean that night of the play. He had texted Leo had texted Leo, and said, my dad came back, and he was
Nora
admitted
and Ben
like
are super happy. Yeah. And we don't need you, and don't come back, and
don't come back.
Stuff.
And so Leo is pissed. He like gets up and starts like stalking around the apartment. Like, are you fucking kidding me, kid? Like, you ruined my life. Not quite, but like, he was very pissed and at Arthur. And Nora just went into mother bear mode, and she was like, listen, obviously you shouldn't have done that. That hurt a lot of people. But also, like, Leo, don't yell at my kid. Like, fuck off. This, he's admitting to a mistake.
Leo tells them to leave because he is pissed. He knows he's pissed, so he goes, I think you guys need to get out of here. Yeah. And he doesn't blow up and like yell at them, but he is absolutely crushed, and he's pissed, and he tells them to leave before he does something bad,
says something he can't take back.
Says something he can't take back. But Arthur does say, when you mess up, you own up to it. Like you said, I'm owning up to it now, whatever, except it took him like 8 months to do so. And it was kind of put all their lives into turmoil for a very long time.
But she would not have written that movie. And she, there's so many things that like,
but that movie really had nothing to do here. Well, other than getting her a huge payday, but like it had nothing to do with the story, really. It had no conclusion to the story or them getting back together. But
I think it was very important to her trajectory as a screenwriter. It was
cathartic for her, yeah.
But I think it put her career on a different trajectory than just like, I'm a writer for TRC. She is now a screenwriter writing like major blockbuster movies. And so I do think like that second movie her career would not have taken that trajectory had this shit not hit the fan.
Yeah. Well, what do you think about the pseudo proposal at the end where he just is like, oh, we're gonna get married, and just
so they leave.
Just tells her
they go back. You're skipping some things.
Oh, yeah.
They go back to Nora and Arthur drive back, and Nora gives him the mom business, like you shouldn't lie, and all of these things. So they sort of settle back into their reality. And then Leo, I think, shows up on the front porch one morning or something, or he sends something.
Yeah, he's sitting on the front porch watching the sunrise as she comes out. And then just like, pretty much says, we're going to get married.
I think we should get married. And
they pretty much just tell the kids, hey, we're getting married. And It's like, okay. And then they go to New Zealand together and backyard
where he's
wedding.
filming Mega Man or whatever. And they get married at the tea house. And I didn't mind it. I mean, it's a freaking romance novel.
Yeah.
And for the first half of the book, I was like, are they just going to be friends this whole time? It's a fun friendship. But I was like, they're like missing this like romance piece. And obviously it came around, and mostly closed door. I mean, not a ton of like steam, but such a good yarn. I mean, the way that everything was put together, I didn't mind the proposal. I thought it was campy, but
yeah. Well, would you recommend this book?
Fuck yeah. I have, and I will again. I loved this book. It has a great story. It's so funny at times, like laughing out loud. You really, like you said, you were cheering for Nora in front of your apartment building on your walk. Yeah, you do. You really want to root for these characters. You even want to root for Leo once you start to find like more about what he's going through and why he's drinking in the beginning. He stops the heavy drinking. Soon, but like you just find out so much about. I loved the kids. Arthur and Beatrice were so cute.
Bernadette,
Bernie, whatever.
Same thing.
BB, same. I loved this book. I loved it the first time I read it. I honestly loved it more the second time.
Yeah,
I would highly recommend. I assume you would too.
I absolutely. I had a much, I think, more visceral, emotional reaction to it the first time. When I did not know what was going on with Arthur and the ghosting and everything else, and
I forgot.
And the second time through, I was able to just more enjoy the funniness, the general humor of it, and the character depth and the small town romance angle. There was a lot more on the second reading where I could appreciate a little bit more of the nuance and depth to it than I did on the first read, where I was waiting for the shoe to drop of why he left and how they're going to get back together, because they're getting back together and all this other kind of stuff. I would absolutely recommend it for sure.
Yeah.
Did
this movie get sold, or did this book get sold to become a movie? Now I'm having vague memories of this.
I don't remember. It was published in 2022. It tells the story of filmed.
I don't, and maybe not. Maybe I'm thinking of a different book.
No,
I don't think so.
I'm not seeing it on here. And everything that they talk about is the movie within the book, not the movie. Made by, made of the book. But that brings us to the final season-ending Mad Lib that we have for this season, and start where we began. Mom and Dad.
Mom and Dad.
Good old
Thank you for
Mom
always
and Dad.
coming through.
Yeah, absolutely. Texted them literally right before we started taping and said, "Hey, we need you guys to give us this." So this is the last draft in Little Elbow by Mom and Dad.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the name of the screenwriting Mad Lib that was created.
Mm-hmm.
Once upon a sweet morning in freedom, the town's most eccentric screenwriter sat on a porch made entirely of pencils, fiercely jumping with one hand and scratching their tongue with the other.
Ooh.
The sky turned cloudy as a motorcycle pulled up carrying none other than Help. Who had mysteriously ran into town looking for a new script and maybe a second chance at love. I'm feeling very fear today, said the screenwriter, dropping their pen with a loud clap. Would you like a BLT?
Yes, always.
Instead of answering, the celebrity pulled out a notebook and confessed they'd always dreamed of quitting fame to pursue insect collection in flip-flops. It was the juiciest moment of the screenwriter's life. Ouch, they cried, jumping up. And that's when a mysterious voice from the clouds boomed, "Oh my word," and the screenwriter fainted.
That was the most psychotic Mad Lib we've had yet. That made no sense. Which is the point.
Yeah. Oh.
I actually appreciate that. Because
would you like a BLT?
Always. I like that it didn't make sense because some of these Mad Libs have made too much sense.
Too much sense. So, especially when we were writing dirty Mad Libs and people knew what they were doing and we were like, okay.
Yeah.
But Helen, as we come to the close of this first season of our
Sibs Read Smut
of our podcast, the pod, we do not have a book coming out next week, folks. I am not going to shame Helen by not knowing what we're supposed to read next week. We are going to take a little break. Mm-hmm. We are going to have some content that we put out over the next couple of months. You won't miss
us. We'll be around.
You won't miss. We'll be around. Helen's going to do even better at posting on the socials.
Listen, as the social media manager of this operation, look out.
She's going to continue clicking that pen in her hands.
It's not a pen. I'm literally inserting this into this. I have to do something with my hands. And you told me to play with this because it doesn't make any noise, but then I found this. And they fit together.
Oh my God. This is all staying in. We are not using this for the blooper reel.
Yes. Yes, Ned, I will stop clicking my pen.
We will have some content coming out over the next couple of months while we take a little break. And some little treats, some little nuggies. And we will come out with season 2 towards the end of the year. And we please, if you're liking our bullshit, please read, rate, review, subscribe. Generally, golden shower us with praise for the last time this season.
And send us books that you want us to read for season 2.
And yes, send us those novels. Send us that smutty smut. And we want to know. We want to know what you crave from us.
Okay, creepy. We want to know what kind of sex talk you want to hear from siblings.
Always include that sniffing.
I didn't sniff.
No, I meant the sniffing in the books, not you.
You always yell at me for sniffing right in the microphone, so that's what I thought you were yelling at me about.
Super gross. Anyway, lovely season, folks. I'm glad you joined us. Thank you for listening, and tune in next season. Thank you, smutters.
Stay smutty.
Stay smutty.
Stay smutty.
Stay smutty, 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 smutty.
Smut. Okay.
Out.